If you've been reaching for brown rice at the grocery store or proudly subbing it in for white rice during takeout nights, convinced you're making a smarter, healthier choice, it's time for a serious reality check. Behind the marketing and nutrition blogs that hail brown rice as a clean eating staple, there's a deeply concerning truth. This healthier grain contains significantly more of a well-known toxic chemical, arsenic. Not just any arsenic, but inorganic arsenic, the type linked to cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and neurological damage, particularly in children. According to a recent study, brown rice contains up to 40% more inorganic arsenic than white rice. That's not a minor difference. That's a toxic payload hiding beneath a health halo. Let's not mince words. Arsenic is not something you want to be consuming in any amount. This is the same chemical that's been used for centuries as poison in criminal plots, and it's still just as deadly. Except now it's lurking in our food supply, disguised as health food. Chronic exposure, even at low levels over time, has been linked to skin disorders, gastrointestinal issues, impaired cognitive development, and an increased risk of lung, bladder, and skin cancers. And brown rice, thanks to its retained outer layers, holds more of it than its white counterpart. This isn't just an abstract chemical problem. We're talking about an everyday food that many people, especially the health-conscious, eat multiple times a week. And while the study downplays the severity of the exposure for most Americans, the key word there is most. That's a far cry from all. There are entire segments of the population, infants, young children, pregnant women, and rice-dependent communities, for whom this exposure is not theoretical. It's real, it's cumulative, and it's dangerous. The outer layer of the rice grain, which is removed during the production of white rice, is what retains the most arsenic. Brown rice keeps that layer, and with it, the toxic baggage. So while the fiber and trace nutrients might be slightly higher, you're essentially trading one health benefit for a slow-drip dose of poison, and that's not hyperbole. When something has been classified as a Group 1 carcinogen by the World Health Organization, the conversation should not be softened with phrases like, "don't panic," or "moderation is key." If the rice you're feeding your toddler contains a substance that's been linked to cognitive damage and increased mortality in young adults, then it's not a dietary gray area. It's a red flag. The researchers behind the study note that children under 5 are especially at risk. This should trigger serious alarm. Their smaller bodies and developing systems make them more susceptible to toxic exposure. Yet brown rice and brown rice-based products like cereals, puffs, and milk substitutes are routinely marketed to parents as nutritious options. That's not just misleading, it's negligent. Even if the average American adult isn't hitting toxic levels from brown rice alone, there are many factors that compound risk, such as the region where the rice is grown, frequency of consumption, and other dietary arsenic sources like juice, seafood, or contaminated water. This risk is multiplied for immigrant communities and low-income families who may rely heavily on rice as a staple food. So when experts say the levels aren't alarming for the general public, they're glossing over the fact that millions of people fall outside that average. And while the FDA has issued some guidance on limiting rice for babies and pregnant women, it's weak at best. There is no federal arsenic limit for most rice products. The food industry, unsurprisingly, has dragged its feet on addressing the issue. Brown rice continues to be marketed with buzzwords like whole grain, natural, and heart healthy, without any mention of the carcinogen it carries. The suggested solution? Wash your rice. Cook it in extra water and drain it like pasta. Mix up your grains. These are good practices, but they're also a bit like recommending that you rinse your spinach with bleach to reduce E. coli risk. It misses the point. Consumers shouldn't be responsible for detoxing their own food at home. They shouldn't have to become amateur toxicologists just to avoid poisoning their families. It's time for a reality check on brown rice. It's not the enemy, but it's certainly not the hero we've been sold. The health food community needs to get honest about trade-offs, and public health agencies need to do more than whisper warnings buried in fine print. Transparency is overdue. Testing is overdue. And most importantly, regulation is overdue. If arsenic levels in drinking water were as high as they are in some rice samples, the public would demand immediate action. So, why does this standard shift when it's hidden in a bowl of rice labeled organic? Until the industry gets serious about this issue, the safest move might be to stop treating brown rice as an automatic upgrade. Sometimes, the cleaner choice is the one that's had a little more of its outer shell stripped away, along with the toxic legacy that comes with it.